Hey there, thanks for joining me here. My name is Cisco, and we're about to go through and play the Stanley Parable. This one's been one of my favorites. It's one of those games that just definitely makes you say, what the fuck? It's weird for the sake of being weird and confusing just for being confusing. I've played through this one a few times. I had recorded it and intended it to release it here at one point, but I wasn't able to actually locate that file when it was time to come to edit it and put it out. So this game was enjoyable enough that this would be my third time running through on all the different endings and scenarios that I know of. So sit back and enjoy. If there's any of these that I've missed or something you want to let me know about, just post or let me know. All right, here we go.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
All right.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
So somebody playing solitaire there, possibly? They must turn off. One time I played, I saw somebody walking through past a doorway, but it's only been once.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, we'll go his way this first time.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
You, most of all, well, that makes me feel special. I'm glad we've got that taken care of. Got that all sorted. I see. Yes, this is correct. Where are these sheets? I'd like to see these sheets. Is this one of the sheets? No. Talk less. Do unbelievably amazing work, and all time, every day, with no expectation of promotion or oh, well, maybe next time. Let it ball up inside you. Take it out on passive aggressively on coworkers. This is very good information here. Okay, now we're done. Before you start yelling at me.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okay.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley could, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway. Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
I do have choices, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. I wonder what I do here.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
I guess I do.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His
Pirate.
own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Sounded so serious. This seems to be the place. Very large room.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
You know, now that I sit here and think about it, I never tried to turn it off in all the times I've played here. Or excuse me, turn it on. I've always turned it off. So, let's see what happens.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system.
Oh, boy.
In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say,
Now?
2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley?
Yes.
It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going.
Can I come upstairs
What all this
or come
means,
from upstairs?
I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated?
Well, I don't remember all these
All right,
buttons.
I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway.
With the Google
I'll
button?
tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them.
3.
I turned off
Where's
the
3
machine.
button?
I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell
2.
it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times,
come on, there's
I let the
gotta be
office sink into the ground,
3.
swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp.
Okay,
I have to say
I
this,
did
though,
3. Now what does
this
that mean?
version of events has been rather
Incorrect.
amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My
Home
goodness,
3.
only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh, dear me. What's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be
what the hell
doing
am I
right
supposed
now?
to be doing? That's a
Or
good...
did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me.
Ooh.
Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be
come
beaten?
on.
One solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless, to see you made humble. This is not a challenge, it's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say,
goodbye. Well, let's try that again.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
No
Yet there
dilly-dallying
was
this
not
time.
a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Huh, I never went this way. Maybe I did. Oh, well. Let's go this way instead. This is interesting. This is shit I didn't know about last time. Last 2 times. Maybe I should have gone up. It's a whole other option I haven't done yet. Sure is a long elevator ride. Maybe this was not a good idea. It is at least a nice elevator. Watch it be. Yep, it's right where I left. Okay, let's try this again. I have a feeling this thing does not take me anywhere, ever. Wonder how long it really would have let me sit in there before he told me to get out. That I'll have to do later. I won't subject you to that now. We'll just save that for a test at the end.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
And here we go again.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
A red screen of death? Oh, here it is. I have one right here. Can't make out what the hell that is, though. It's a lot of oh, okay. Subjective. Focus. I need to keep going.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life, for he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
I really wonder if there was a way to turn that off. You know, I don't think I remember coming and checking this console after that. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through his way, and then we're going to come back and try this again afterwards. We're just going to go straight up and turn it off, though. We're not waiting for it to stop.
He found the blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Well, this is different. Every
All
time.
of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Every time I play this game, I think I know what's going to be next, and really right away we're here. Let's check.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference.
Thank you.
Nor did it advance the story in any way.
Oh, does it? Oh. Well, okay, so I can safely say I've found yet another ending. Console 7 Bark, huh? If I touch it, nothing happens. We just sit in here for a moment. It's funny though. Console 7 Bark. Okay. What if I shut the door? No, I guess I can only open it. Maybe there would be an ending to this ending, but no, let's keep going.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Let's do what he wants the second time. I've never done that. So it's hard to drag you through a little bit extra here, but let's see what happens.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
To be rich, is it a crime? To commit crimes, isn't it rich? What a life it would be to have to pick just one. So apparently my toilet is equipped with a keyboard. Everything apparently is equipped with a keyboard. Interesting. Alright, moving along. Check this room again. Okay. That panda is gonna get it. I'll come back to you, door.
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take, too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees, bursting into half moans, half sobs, the guttural wrenching of life from a man denied any hope, any reason to keep going. Here on the floor, he lay prone, paralyzed by fear for nearly a full hour. But when at last he began to move about and survey the situation, he found a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could it mean? Was it a sign of hope for Stanley's future? Alas, it was not. For although this keypad guarded the terrible secret of Stanley's past, It had been assigned a 4-digit code so devious and so random that no man could ever hope to guess it. 2845. Statistically, nearly impossible to yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Here we go yet again.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Yes, we did.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
This all seems the same.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Save it for next time. I'll save it for next time. I gotta focus. Let's try the way he wants one more time. See if this is any different. So far, it's only been up to the cameras in the room. And again, we're just going to walk up, right? Well, no, we're not. I'm going to give him a speech. I'll give him a speech.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Okay, really? That's it? All right.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
What if I delay a little bit? It's going to tell me something else? If I go back? No, that seems to be pretty much the game there at that point. I'll humor him though. I'm just going to stand here, enjoy the view. It's pretty nice. Oh, it just opens, this room opens up exactly up into this road. Dead center next to a parking lot of some red barn with wood. Oh, that's nice. It's starting to show a little more detail and distance there. Okay, maybe not. He's patient today. He's very patient.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Okay, the hall is different. I know the hall isn't different when I go try the other ways, so let's see where we go here.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I'll humor him again. For some reason I'm...
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
There's lots of things here. What are you talking about? There's buckets and brooms, wires, wrenches, duct tape.
There was nothing here.
There is clearly things here.
No path to follow, just an empty broom closet.
I like
no
this broom
reason
closet.
to still be here.
Well, let's see about that. I'm going to stand here again. Look at all this shit
It
here.
was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way.
You
As
are
it is,
correct, sir.
He's literally just standing there doing sweet FA. Are you really still in the broom closet?
I am.
Standing around doing nothing?
I
Why?
am.
Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
I am a little puzzled myself. I'm a little puzzled.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever.
Now I feel like it
I
is.
thought to mention it. Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friend, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
I do. We're going to play around just a little bit
Stanley
longer.
was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley's
money.
addicted to drugs and hookers.
He is so addicted to it.
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now.
Yes?
You're dead.
Oh,
You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here when a physical malady of some sort
oh
shut
boy.
down your central nervous system
Goodbye.
and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the
Oh.
responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose.
You're right.
Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
No. He might be done. That might have been in his last little spiel here.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you.
Oh, I can't.
You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
I don't know why I've never done this one before. Let's tease him one more time. Nope, I think he's done with me. Okay, well, I tried that so many times that I'd rather not admit the actual number of how many I've tried different codes until I finally gave up and started asking around and ended up finding a few videos there that showed that there is no possible outcome of those switches there. That is the ending. The ending is you die, you blow up. That's it for that ending. There is no other possible outcome with those buttons. It's just another way to fuck with you and has me wasting more time than again I'd care to admit. So I cut out all that. I will spare you of maybe show you at least one or two runs at the very least, but there's no outcome of that. There's nothing. So moving on, let's try some of the other different endings here.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
It's been a while since I've done this one.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be?
Oh,
Why
yes.
don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
I don't know. No, I'm not actually.
Ah, then in that case, we'll continue.
Okay.
But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different?
Yes.
Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total
Damn you
just to
for
have heard
tempting me.
all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected Continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other options so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
Well, that wasn't very nice. What if I say no? Oh, wow. He really did. You know what, I'm going to do it again just to see. I'm going to be that guy. Is he going to let me out of here? I think he did. I think he's going to make me begin the game again.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Of course, now I can't do it again.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to
I am
drink it
done
all
with the
in?
gag. I'm done.
Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet? Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain.
Challenge accepted.
There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable. Yes. You too will become quite unbearable.
I have a feeling it's just going to loop this now over and over. I did accept his challenge, though. It's very unbearable, though. It is starting to wear on me here. Okay, he wins. He wins. I will fold. I will fold. Just to tease him. No, no change. No change.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Where is...
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Oh, this is different. What else could it be waiting input? That was not it.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office,
Tempting.
hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean, he wondered. Desperate for answers, he began turning the room over, looking for clues that might unravel the situation.
Got the
Until at
achievement
last,
there.
he
You just come up
discovered
here
a
and press
keypad
888
behind the
until
boss's
it
desk. But alas,
says 8.
no code. For this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
So, you're probably wondering why I'm going this way again. Well, there was one more path we been forgetting to take here. So this hopefully will be the last time you see this screen. Actually, no, I lie. There will be one more time here. We have to do it for another achievement. So I will be splicing that down. You won't see a whole run of it. We'll get to that later. We'll save that for last.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read
And
Mind
we're
Control
not.
Facility.
I'm gonna go through this crayon-drawn escape sign here. That just seems a little shady, but okay.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it,
Yes.
the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Well, that's gonna happen in a lot of these halls.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
He does, doesn't he?
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Yes. This all seems pretty obvious, people. Goodbye, cruel world. Okay, so escape is obviously death. Is that a subtle meaning here? But wait. But wait.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story.
Ah, yes, Stanley.
Trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he
Does that mean these are people?
willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed
Yes.
every bone in his body,
Yes.
killing him instantly.
Oh, well, that seems to have failed here.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Ah, yes.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
So I'm glad we're getting to this room early, at least. That last time I did this in my recording, I remember it was pretty late and I was getting pretty tired around this time, and I think I rushed it and I didn't get to display everything what we had here. There's a lot in this museum. Some we haven't covered yet, but we'll give it a view.
Where were all of his co-workers? Oh, I don't know. How about they're throwing a surprise party for him for all his button pushing? Does that sound plausible to you? Now then, this narrator for sure would get him right back on track to where he was supposed to be in the story. Stanley.
Interesting. Oh, well, okay. No, I think that's the end there. I always wanted a clock like that for some reason. What the hell is that? I'll watch it. I feel there should be sound. Let's move along here. I think I covered it all here, yeah. The opposite. Well, let's make our way to the end.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail.
Oh boy.
Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time choose.
This part I have set, and this is all you will see until you escape out of the game. If I'm wrong, I hope so. Somebody will prove me wrong there. Excuse me.
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
He's right, but we're gonna move on to another one I know.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
No.
he entered the door. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ah,
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
it is a good room. They've got cold drinks.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
I'd say so.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy.
Okay,
and
okay.
reflected poorly on his overall person. But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Stanley, let's make a choice.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
I don't think I will. I really don't remember where this takes me. I have a feeling, but I don't want to say yet.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office.
No, he
He
didn't.
wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go,
Where did he need to go?
From here, it's, left.
Okay.
Oh, no.
No,
it's
no.
to the right. My mistake.
Okay.
No,
Of course not.
the right.
Of course not.
Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Okay.
No.
I wanted to
This
get up
isn't
here.
right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get
I don't know
back to,
that button.
Oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning.
Well,
And
let's
this
do
time,
that.
suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
Okay, well, I need to take a quick break here. I'm going to stop for a moment to get some coffee, and we'll pick this up momentarily.